Hey, welcome back to Livin MN Outdoors. I'm Daniel, and thanks for tuning in to another fishing report. Before we dive into this week's report, just want to remind you, if you use any of the guides or resorts mentioned in today's report, please let them know you saw them on Livin MN Outdoors. Also want to give a huge shout out to LH Custom Rods for sponsoring today's fishing report. And with that being said, let's dive into this week's fishing report. All right, we're going to start up on Leech Lake out of Acorn Hill Resort on Traders Bay. I talked to Kyle. The ice conditions are looking very good. They have 19 inches plus of ice, and they no longer have any vehicle or wheelhouse restrictions. So no matter what truck you have, no matter what fish house you have, you are welcome to go out of Acorn Hill Resort. Now, as far as the fishing goes, the bite had slowed down after that last cold front. It is starting to pick back up a little bit now. As far as the walleye bite goes, there are two general areas you can find them in. Greg's Break Line in that 15 to 18 foot of water, and then the road out to Stony Point, if you can find some rocks in that 14 to 18 foot of water, they are picking off some nice walleyes. Now, the best ways to catch those walleyes, you need to utilize a dead stick with a plain red or white hook. Tip that with a shiner, a small sucker minnow, or a rainbow is working best for those. Now, as far as jigging, a small 1/8 or 1/4 ounce tungsten buckshot spoon has been working well. Pink and white Wonder Bread or gold seems to be working best. Tip that with a minnow head, and you're more than likely going to pick off some of those walleyes in that late afternoon and after dark bite. Now, as far as the perch bite goes, several areas are finding those perch. Over in the Tim's Hole area, 10 to 12 foot of water on the weed lines is producing some nice perch. However, you are going to have to sort a bunch of them out because there is a ton of little ones. Otherwise, over at Greg's Break Line in that 14 to 18 foot of water are some nice perch as well, with a few less of the small ones. And then out on some of that deeper mud structure, just out beyond Greg's Break Line in that 18 to 22 foot of water, there are some nice perch out there as well, and still a few of those smaller ones mixed in. Now, best ways to catch those perch, a number 4 or number 6 plain hook with a fat head is working well, and then a 1/16 ounce or 1/8 ounce spoon tipped with some waxworm, Eurolarva, or a small minnow head is working as well. Now, one really cool thing going on out in Traders Bay is there is a massive population of tulipies out there right now. It doesn't matter if you fish over in shallow by Tim's Hole or Greg's Break Line or some of that deeper mud structure. You're more than likely going to run into some tulipies out there, and they are a blast to catch. Now, Acorn Hill Resort, they do have sleeper houses, day houses, cabins available, guided perch trips. They do have a bar and restaurant, the Loaded Loon Bar and Grill. We were up there this past weekend, and their food is absolutely amazing. Along with, they do have an indoor swimming pool and a small arcade. So if the kids get a little bit bored out on the lake, that is a great option to break things up. So if you're looking to get up to Leech Lake this coming weekend or in the future, go ahead and call Kyle from Acorn Hill Resort. All right, now moving over to Lake Winnie out of Tamarack Bay. I talked to Chad at the Pines Resort. In the bay, they have 20 plus inches of ice. They do not have any vehicle or wheelhouse restrictions. And then out on the main lake, they are looking at 17 inches plus, and their roads go all the way over to Mallard and Stony Point. Now, as far as the walleye bite goes, they are picking off some walleyes in that 18 to 24 foot of water, both on the sand flats and on the edges of some of those mid-depth humps. Best ways to catch those are on a plain red or plain white hook, and some people have been getting them on some Wonder Bread jigs tipped with a fat head, a rainbow, small suckers, or a golden shiner. Doesn't really seem to matter on the minnow choice, but those plain hooks and those Wonder Bread jigs are more of the key. Now, some people are getting them jigging too. I would say that the dead sticks are probably 3-to-1 jigging, but it doesn't hurt to keep continuously jig to help draw those fish in. Now, as far as jigging spoons, a 1/8 or 1/4 ounce buckshot spoon, tip that with a minnow head, and more than likely you're going to call the fish in with that, but once in a while they will bite on that spoon as well. Now, as far as the perch bite goes, a couple different areas that they're getting perch. Some people are still getting them up in shallow in that 8 to 11 foot of water on the weed edges. Some people are getting them out on those sand flats in that 13 to 17 foot of water. And a few perch are starting to show up out deeper on those sand flats in that 18 to 23 foot of water. So they are kind of scattered right now, so you might have to hunt around a little bit if you want to get in on some of the perch action. Now, best ways to catch those perch: small tungsten jig or a small jigging spoon. Tip that with some Euro larva waxworms or a small minnow head. Otherwise, a plain number 4 or number 6 red hook with a fat head is working as well. Now, as far as the panfish bite goes, the bluegill bite has been really good. Those are in that 6 to 9 foot of water on the weeds, in that weed to sand mix. Not going to give out a ton of specifics on the location of those, but if you stop in at the Pines Resort and talk to Chad, he will give you some more precise locations to catch those bluegills. A few crappies are starting to show up in that same 6 to 9 foot of water. To catch those, a small tungsten jig or a plain little hook with a crappie minnow is working to pick off some of those. Now, as far as pike go, the pike are everywhere. Doesn't matter what you put down, you're going to catch some pike. If you want a spear, the Pines Resort does have some spear houses available, but you'll have to check with Chad on the availability there. Now, the Pines Resort, they do have cabins, day houses, like I said before, spear houses, full bar and restaurant, fish cleaning shack, live bait. Basically anything you need, they got it. So if you're looking to get up to Lake Winnie this coming weekend or in the future, go ahead and call Chad from the Pines Resort. Now, if you are looking to stay in a sleeper house out on Lake Winnie, Scott from zupsguideservice, he has 5 sleeper houses out on the bay right now. They have been doing pretty darn well out there. He does not really have any weekend availability left for the season, but he does have quite a bit of midweek availability in February. So if you want to get up to Lake Winnie and get in on some of those walleye and perch, go ahead and call Scott from zupsguideservice. All right, now moving down to Mille Lacs Lake. I was out there yesterday out of the north end. We found anywhere from 15 to 17 inches of ice. As far as vehicle restrictions, I don't think they have a whole lot of restrictions, but if you're going to bring out a bigger house or a 1-ton diesel, go ahead and give your resort a call before heading out there. Now, as far as the ice goes over on the east side, not a whole lot of change, anywhere from 17 to 19 inches of ice out there. Minimal snow cover out on the lake. You can basically drive anywhere you want. If you do have one of those bigger rigs, them diesel trucks with them monster wheelhouses, I would maybe stick closer to the road systems. But if you have a 1/2 ton and a single axle wheelhouse, you can basically drive anywhere you want. Now, over on the west side, I do still believe that some of the resorts are dealing with heave over there on the shoreline. I do think they are able to get over it with some smaller stuff, maybe some side-by-sides, maybe some smaller pickups and single axle wheelhouses. I haven't got much confirmation on that, but they do have pretty good ice once you can get out beyond those heaves. And the walleye fishing over on the west side has been pretty good on those rocks in that 12 to 18 foot of water. Then down on the south end, the bays have a ton of ice. They're basically letting out anything. Doesn't really matter what size truck or wheelhouse you have. And then they are getting out to some of them really good structures such as 5 mile, 4 mile, 7 mile. And the walleye fishing out on 5 mile I know has been very good. And then as far as the fishing goes down on the south end, they are finding some perch in that mid-depth gravel and rock structures, that 22 to 26 foot of water. Not really sure why the perch have been honing in on the rocks. That's where we found them up on the north end as well, in about 23 foot of water. Not sure what food source is on those rock piles right now, but it does seem to be attracting some really nice perch. Now, as far as the walleye bite down on the south end in the bays, 8 to 14 foot of water has seemed to be the best. There are some really big walleyes swimming in that shallow water. Put down a sucker minnow or a big shiner. Be really quiet. Jig a big spoon, something bright and flashy with a minnow head or a full minnow, and you might just tag into one of them big walleyes. Now, out on the east side, especially out of Agate Bay on the mud line that runs along there, they are catching some nice perch, anywhere from 27 to 31 foot of water, using a small tungsten jig and some Euro larva, or a small spoon with a minnow head is working best over there. And then as far as the walleye bite, like I said before, that shallower rock bite in that 14 to 20 foot of water seems to be best there. Put down a golden shiner on a plain hook, and then jig a 1/4 ounce spoon or even a 1/8 ounce spoon to get a mixed bag is working as well. All right, well, that's going to do it for this week's fishing report. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. If you get out fishing, take some pictures, send them to us on Facebook or to our Gmail. If you do make it out fishing, just remember, be respectful of other fishermen. Don't crowd your neighbor. Absolutely do not leave your trash out on the ice. And most importantly, don't forget to get on out there, get living.